PDF files. The answer is out there.
The Microsoft Fabric Certification Podcast with Kevin and Frank.
Episode 6, Secrets of the Smart
I have a question. Your organization uses Microsoft Fabric for managing data pipelines in a large-scale ETL process. The current setup involves multiple pipelines triggered by specific events and schedules, facing challenges with hard-coded values. You need to implement dynamic parameterization to enhance flexibility and reduce maintenance. Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Which 2 actions should you perform? Select all answers that apply. A. Hard-code values in the configuration. B. Pass external values using pipeline parameters. C. Use dynamic expressions for runtime evaluation. D. Use static triggers for pipeline execution. E. Use static values in expressions.
Hey, Kevin, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Frank. What about yourself?
Fantastic, as always. So, you heard the lady. We have a new question, and the new question is about one of your favorite topics, I think, which is deployment pipelines, right? So, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about what is a deployment pipeline? Is it the same than this data pipelines we covered in one of the last talks, or is it something different?
So, just to help with everybody's understanding of this as well, because of the terminology that a lot of people call them just deployment pipelines, they're actually referring to Microsoft Fabric deployment pipelines. Now, these are a GUI-based way that you can do pipelines to different environments within Microsoft Fabric itself. So you can go in the Fabric, you can select deployment pipelines, and in a nice GUI-based way, click to deploy easily to different environments.
Okay.
Now, these are really good for business citizens. So if people want to do things at a no-code way, you can go and do this directly within Microsoft Fabric itself, providing you have the right permissions.
Okay. So what is the thing you like the most about this?
You mean about deployment pipelines?
Yes.
Well, for me, coming from a strong CI/CD background, one of the best things, to be honest with you, is the fact that I can automate deploying to different stages in Azure DevOps instead. So if somebody's created deployment pipelines in the past, but people want things like approval process, I can just create a pipeline in either Azure Pipelines in Azure DevOps or in GitHub. And then I can just run a PowerShell script, and that will orchestrate the deployment for me outside the deployment pipeline. So the business citizens can still do the clicking updates if they want, but if they want the approvals, I can orchestrate it outside of Microsoft Fabric instead. For me, that's one of the better-ish things at the moment, so I can do a few more flexibility. I mean, if you're talking about working in the GUI itself, like I said, it is a nice clicking interface. So we'll give it that.
Okay. So maybe one more question to you as well, Kevin. So thinking about probably, because many people who are moving to Fabric come more from a Power BI background. So maybe things like CI/CD are not so common to them. Could you please tell a little bit about what is CI/CD? Is it a new hard rock band like AC/DC? Would be nice. I would definitely. No, now I'm a little bit sad.
Well, apologies everybody. Frank's asked me yet again a question which could be an entire session by itself, but here's the very short version. CI/CD is basically stands for the CI is continuous integration and CD is either continuous development or continuous deployment, depending on your company's needs. And it's basically a way for you to be able to deploy updates from one stage if you come from a deployment pipeline background or environment, as you will, so like development, tests, acceptance, production, etc. It's just a way of handling those deployments. So first of all, doing all the automated testing and then deploying to the other stages. That's the very short version of what CI/CD is in the context of working with Microsoft Fabric.
Okay, thank you very much for this. And asking you questions, which can be a whole session, is one of my secret superpowers, right?
Apparently.
Yeah, okay. So, well, probably after we now know what the deployment pipelines are and what CI/CD stands for, and as said, I'm a little bit sad that this is not a new hard rock band, but Anyway, so let's move back to the question and let's think about, okay, we have to configure the deployment pipeline to deploy only specific content from a test to production. So let's think a little bit about the answers. So answer A is deploy all content. Is this the right answer? Shall we do this, Kevin?
Well, think about what the lady said. Deploy only specific content. So does deploy all content meet that requirement?
Probably not. And probably I could even answer this without knowing anything about deployment pipelines. All is not specific. So A, we don't do A, so A we ruled out. So let's think about B. B is about modify deployment rules for the test stage. So there are some rules in place, and if we change them, maybe this would be a good thing to do, right?
So the deployment rules actually make changes or impact, as you will, the items that are being deployed, certain items that are deployed at different stages. So for example, you can have a rule that influences the source of a SQL database. So for in the dev stage stroke workspace, it could be that the source is a development SQL database somewhere. And then you can have a rule in place that goes, well, actually for test, the source for my report is actually going to be a test database.
Okay.
Or it could be like a notebook. It could be that in your development workspace, a notebook's default lakehouse is a lakehouse in your development workspace. And whereas you want it changed in the test workspace to actually be a lakehouse in the test workspace instead. So you're not actually changing what's deployed, you're just changing different rules relating to those items that are being deployed.
Okay, so okay, understood. Okay, so then B is not correct as well. So let's move to C. Let's see modifying the existing pipeline by removing unnecessary content. I think this is the right way to go, right? Because if you remove all of the unnecessary content, then you only deploy the specific content, right?
Well, unnecessary content can be in the eye of the beholder for a start. So if somebody takes it upon themselves to remove everything because they don't want it in the other environments, technically that would work. But, and here's a little bit of a tiny but here, you're going to lose some items.
Yeah, but maybe these items are not important to me.
No, I mean as in you're going to lose items in your workspaces, full stop. So, yeah, I kind of think if you value your career, maybe not these.
You think if we do C, this could be like a career limiting move? Okay, well, I see.
I think you will be making a career choice without realizing it.
Okay. Well, then we only have one left, and as we all ruled out the other ones, probably this is the right answer to use selective deployment. Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about selective deployment? What is it and how does it work?
Well, it's very complicated, to be honest with you, Frank. So bear with me. What you do, you go into a deployment pipeline, and then you select the items you want deployed to the next stage.
Well, this sounds a little bit like that we can select specific containers, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So just as well, I will add to this, anybody who's not, because Microsoft Fabric deployment pipelines have been around for a while now. In reality, if you worked in Power BI, like Frank mentioned earlier, they are the same as the Power BI deployment pipelines. The only slight difference now is that the UX, the user experience in Fabric has been updated for deployment pipelines. It looks different. A few of the clicks are different, but the main premise is still there, and you can still do the selected deployment to each stage. So I think we can be assured, Frank, in this case, the answer is out there, and that answer is to use selective deployment.
Wow, this is cool. So another mystery solved, another case we can close, right? Awesome. So, well, do we have any additional thoughts, Kevin?
Just that, if you are studying for the DP 700 exam, then make sure you're aware of everything involved relating to deployment pipelines. This includes working with all the different types of deployment rules, what permissions are required, etc., because this will put you in a very good place if you're looking to take the DP 700 exam. That's my personal piece of advice for all of you.
Thank you very much. I think it all But this is something which cannot hurt anyway, is to know something about Git, right? Is always a good thing to know.
Yeah, but I kind of think the Git topics may be for questions further on in the series, because
Could be.
at this moment in time, we will focus on the deployment pipeline.
That's true. That's true. Okay, yeah, well, so I think for this episode, this is it, right? Well, beware, some deployment can be out there, right? So, and well, thanks for listening, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thanks all. Bye.